Hello and welcome to the DFS Coach Talk podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 2nd. I am Coach, actually Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Can you tell I haven't been on here in a while, Andrew?
Yeah, not since the Cowboys podcast.
I know, man. But I'm very excited to be here tonight with my partner in crime here, Mr. Language Olympic here, Andrew Hanson. So it's great to be back. I guess you can call me Joe now since I screwed up the whole coach thing.
Yeah, that's right. We got options now.
Yes, definitely. But it's an extremely exciting night, man. We were talking a little bit about it before we came on, and just a whole new situation for DFS Coach Talk. As we start to get closer and closer to the US pro sports coming back, we're certainly really ratcheting things up here at DFS Coach Talk. So I know I've only been on one podcast in the last month, so it's been a while. So I want to just give a quick shout out to our whole team. I mean, the team that we have here at DFS Coach Podcast with Brett and Leighton behind the scenes, and obviously Andrew and Mike Santino, Shane, and I think that's all of us, right? And
Yep.
yeah, we're just everybody's working hard. We're really excited to see that even though sports have been gone and we've been filling in with different things, we've continued our 7-day a week podcast schedule. We've put if you haven't had a chance to check, you can look on YouTube, DFS Coach Talk, and you'll see the entire litany of NFL, NBA, and MLB podcasts on there. And it's for the upcoming season. So as our buddy Mike Apotri would say, they're evergreen because they're, at least until this season gets rocking and rolling in all those sports, because we've taken the time in this down period to our advantage and really dove into each team in each main sport and tried to give the whole take on what it's going to look like in this upcoming season for DFS for those teams. So I would strongly encourage taking a listen to those when you have an opportunity. Because as we know, Andrew, we talk about it all the time. I mean, we're down to 4 or 5 weeks now to, NBA and MLB really jumping back in, maybe 6 weeks. But, once those two start going, it'll be super quick. And then the NFL's going. So, talk about 0 to 100. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to the whole team at DFS Coach Talk because, we, as everybody knows here, our members have been fantastic. We've done a lot of contests on the site. It's been a blast. Everybody stayed in contact, through this epidemic and now through all this civil unrest. And, God bless our country. I mean, we have never seen the stuff that we're going through now. And we certainly don't take light of any of those things. But, we enjoy being able to be a distraction from everything that's going on here at DFS Coach Talk. So, we know that, we're just a fly in the flying around compared to everything that's going on in the world. But, we all need distractions. We all need to, those of us that love sports and love DFS, it's such a great escape from some of the things that are going on. But one thing we do know, and I wanted to mention this before we get started as well, Andrew, is we're going to come through this. I put out something in our coaches chat with our 7 teammates on there, and it is a dark time, but one thing we are in this country is resilient. We'll come through this. The sports are a little jacked up the way they're going to have shortened seasons and play-in games, and some teams are going to get, all of that stuff is going to be awkward this first year. But the bottom line is sports will be back, DFS will be back, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it as we get back to normalization in this world. So just wanted to say that, just in the fact that, in lieu of everything going on, we're certainly aware of it, and, we're all very supportive of just everything healing and getting back to normal in this country. So wanted to share that for a minute because I know we've been busy on these podcasts and have not really alluded to that. So also huge news, as you know, we have two big announcements today. We've brought on two affiliate sponsors, and I know Andrew, we've been working our tails off behind the scenes to get all of this stuff organized and ready to go. But we are partnering with TVG, which is where the world goes to watch horse racing. I mean, it is the best horse racing information, content, website, TV, everything you can get. And we're very, very excited for having them on as a sponsor. And we have a specific $300 risk-free bet that you can only get at TVG through DFS Coach Talk. So that's super exciting. So that is something that we're putting all over our website and all over social media. And today we launched that. So that's a huge thing for us. And we just love the TVG team, and we're glad to be part of it. Also, BetUS. BetUS, I've been there for like literally 12, 13 years. I've been playing with BetUS, and they've always been very reputable. They do a great job. Their payouts, everything they do is top notch. And when we had the opportunity to bring them on as a sponsor and be part of the BetUS team, we definitely jumped at it. So we just finalized that, and we'll be announcing next week some similar promos. They're really exciting, like TVG is doing, that we can bring just to our members. So for right now, we do have a link on our website where you go to DFS Coach Talk. You can sign up for TVG or BetUS, and you'll be getting those special offers that are only offered to DFS Coach Talk members. So how exciting is that, Andrew?
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's been a lot of fun here. For those of you who are new to the program, we launched in February. So we're new and growing, and it's an exciting year, very difficult time for all of us. And I want to follow up on what you mentioned earlier about the situation in the country. Richard Sherman from the 49ers had a really nice comment today talking about, how important sports is, where you get on a team and it doesn't matter what race you are, where you come from, anything about your background. You're part of a team, you're part of a family, and all those labels go away. And I think sports, it teaches us so much about teamwork, leadership, respecting authority. And I just thought it was a great quote. It's something that I've always felt, and it's important to me. It's one of the reasons why sports are so important to me, because you treat everybody the same when you're on a team. I know you feel the same way as a longtime coach, and so I wanted to mention that. And we'll talk some more about the KBO and the importance of that to us and to everybody who's enjoying it as entertainment. But yeah, in terms of DFS Coach Talk stuff, like you mentioned earlier, what we're trying to do here is provide an escape. We know that, there's not much out there for entertainment. And so as we try to connect everybody to sports in the DFS context, it's an exciting time for us.
It really is. And, you alluded to the DFS Coach Talk kicking off. And believe it or not, somehow, some way, we managed to kick off 3 weeks and 2 days before sports shut down.
Yep.
So, it was unfortunate, but I'll tell you, it did give us, those 23 days. And maybe that's an omen that it was 23 days with Michael Jordan's number. But it was a great period for us. We did NBA, and we were 75% winner in our lineups we were providing. And so, there was a ton of momentum. Everything was happening at once. And, maybe it was all happening too fast. So, this gave us a chance to really get organized in the background, get a few strong sponsors associated, with us to help us grow. And, it's so everything happens for a reason. We're excited that we got off to a great start, and we feel like we haven't missed a beat. So we're going to ride out these next 6 weeks or whatever until U.S. sports are back. And we're going to be providing for KBO. And since this is a day of firsts with everything else, this is also our first official KBO podcast. We also are going to provide for PGA. Andrew and I will be doing a Wednesday podcast for those tournaments that actually kick off a week from tomorrow, this Thursday, here right down the road from me in Fort Worth, Texas. And we'll be providing lineups and discussion and podcasts and content for PGA as well. So we'll ride the KBO and PGA train until we get back to our main sports. And then once we can focus back in, hopefully again in August, with all the sports in September, as NFL comes back, we'll focus with our pros. We have 6 pros, 2 that concentrate on basketball, baseball, and football. So those are the sports. We want to be the best of the best at what we do. And in the interim, we didn't see this shutdown coming. No one in the world did. But we've not only taken the opportunity to build a real strong vault of content for those 3 main sports in our podcasts. And you can go to YouTube anytime, by the way, DFS Coach Talk, and you can listen in or watch any of those podcasts at any time. And, we've used that time to do that. And then, build some new things with KBO and PGA. And Andrew and I were talking, we've had a blast with KBO. It is, if we would have done this podcast the very first night we did KBO, we couldn't pronounce anybody's name. We couldn't even pronounce the team names. We were spelling stuff to each other. So, to go from that to feeling like we have a fairly good handle on KBO. I mean, let's face it, if anybody tells you they're a KBO expert, you're going to have to scratch your head because none of us sort of followed anything with KBO. I knew Eric Thames played there before, but that was about the end of that. But, now that's been our only go-to thing, we've all grown with it. So, and you've been fantastic, man. You've just crushed KBO. And I know you wanted to make a few comments about just, how fun it's been and how much we've been able to embrace it and how it's filled such a great role for us at DFS Coach Talk. And I think for sports in general.
Yeah, and to be honest, the last few years, because I've been focusing on NBA and NFL DFS more, the sport that's gone by the wayside is Major League Baseball. And I'm a lifelong baseball fan. I played it in college. I played it for 3 years after college in independent professional leagues. So I love the game, but I've sort of drifted away from it. And to be honest, the KBO, the Korea Baseball Organization, has helped bring the love of baseball back to me because it's in a time when we really needed sports, and it's basically the only ball game out there, and it's not at the level of Major League Baseball, but there's a lot of very good players there. You can tell the pride, the enthusiasm, and it's sort of like back to the love of the game because they're not playing for the salaries, they're not fighting over money like everybody in the U.S. is. And it's just a real shame that Major League Baseball is up in the air right now, whether they'll even have a season. And I think it's imperative that they figure it out. I urge both sides to come to the table and just get this done. To me, baseball is an institution, and it's not run by the government, but they have an obligation to America to get back on the field and play. And it's nice to see the KBO really take the lead and show the world that you can play baseball right now in this age. And people are going to watch. They're going to tune in, even if it's at 5 in the morning or 3 in the morning or 1 in the morning, depending on where you live. So, sports fans are going to come out and watch. And so I'm just very appreciative that the KBO, is going strong through this period. And it's been great entertainment. And I'm excited here to do this first KBO podcast with you on DFS Coach Talk because, like you said, we've really been following it very closely.
Yeah.
Every single slate and providing lineups to our members. And I'm excited to start doing these for real now.
It's a blast. And let me echo your thoughts with MLB. I mean, the only thing I could compare this time frame to at all. And it's, I think, worse, but that flashpoint in time of 9/11 and living through that, I was coaching and such at the time. So it was just such a shock. And the country was suffering, but baseball was a huge part of that. I'll never forget that first night back in baseball, Mets and Yankees. Bush comes out there and fires a strike right down the middle, and it was a huge healing point. It started the ball rolling of getting back to normal. So I sure hope Major League Baseball comes to their senses. I know the NBA and Silver, I have a lot of confidence that in them. LeBron and there's such big voices in the NBA. I think that are going to be a big part of this healing, especially with the civil unrest and everything that's gone on. To see Karl Towns, at a very calm rally that he attended after losing his mother to COVID-19 was touching. And I think it just brings it all around. So I'm excited to see sports take that role in healing. And we want to be right alongside that for sure. So great stuff. And KBO, again, it's been a joy to be able to cover it, see another part of the world, see different things. It's just been a blast. And I'll tell you, we don't do anything half-baked here at DFS Coach Talk. I mean, we are providing lineups for FanDuel. We're providing a player pool for DraftKings. And me, Crazy Joe, Crazy Coach, whatever you want to call me, since I messed up the beginning as it is, I've been getting up, and if it's a 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, or 5:30 start, 30 minutes before lock, I'm in every Discord, making sure that all of our lineups are solid. There's no rainouts and all of that. So another big part of being part of what we're doing and joining DFS Coach Talk is we're going to do everything we have to do, every slate, every sport, to make sure that our members are putting out the best DFS lineups and getting the best bang for their buck. So I'm very proud of that. And, I think it says something about what we're about. And if we're doing this kind of level and depth now, what is it going to be like when the main sports are happening? So this is the time to jump aboard. I did mention a few times now, and I don't mean for this to sound arrogant or boastful, but we do believe we're going to have to do cutoffs of a certain amount of members as we start getting to a point with each sport, because we don't want to have an abundance of people entering contests with the same lineups and that kind of thing. So, not to try to push anybody to join, but my strong recommendation, if you want to get involved, the memberships are frozen. So all of the KBO and PGA events that we're giving are free. So if you join, for example, if you got on our website and joined for a 1-week membership, which is $25, you can sign up for a week, a month, or a year, then you're frozen until sports starts. So the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, 5 weeks, we don't know for sure, then you're getting all this activity, and then the clock starts on your membership when one of the major sports comes back. So again, that's just another thing. We're going the extra mile to be, try to be fair and get as many people involved. And now with the partnerships with TVG and BetUS, and the fact that you can take advantage of their, wonderful offers as a member, that's just another reason to jump aboard for sure. So I think that's it, man. I think we cleared the table. We did want to say a lot of stuff, so I'm sorry that we took half of the show here almost, but it's just a good time to reach out to everybody and give everybody a DFS hug to say, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to do it. We're here for you. And our members, if you get in there, great bunch of people. I mean, one of our guys, Brenton, had a little fender bender and got dinged up, and everybody was checking on him and following up. I mean, we're a family here. So we look forward to getting everybody involved. And we have such an awesome base, man, of people everywhere. We've had a few more Australian folks join us. Rouchard's our big Australian leader, who's the big takedown, the big events guy. So we love him. And he's brought some great guys in. and we have a Canadian presence, JP up there. Always we call him the Moose, and he's getting it going. So wherever you are, wherever you can hear a podcast or watch YouTube, we're here, and so come on aboard. So, all right, podcast number 1 of all times with DFS Coach Talk, KBO style. We're going to follow this format. And so, this coming 6 weeks, we're going to be doing 3 of these KBO podcasts a week where, like, for example, we're doing this Tuesday evening. We'll post it Tuesday evening. The games start Wednesday morning-ish, if you will. So it's always going to be like that with KBO. So it's as close to a live podcast as you can get for KBO. And then, like I say, for our members, I'm in Discord 30 minutes before lock. So the other part of the DFS 6-week schedule here is we'll be doing, like I say, KBO 3 days. We're going to do PGA every Wednesday. We're going to do 2 baseball podcasts per week, the Evergreen podcasts, like we have the Red Sox and Yankees separate podcasts coming up this week. So those that are getting juiced up, because I really do think MLB's about to report to spring training and get it going here. So we're going to keep those going. And then just to appease the old coach here, we're going to have 1 NBA podcast per week and go back over some of the key teams that we're going to talk about, especially now that we're getting a good idea that they're going to have about 22 teams reporting to Orlando. So if you were expecting tonight to hear that NBA show, we flip-flopped the KBO show on Thursday with this one, and Andrew and I will be back on Thursday night because we are pretty sure that the NBA is going to have their vote, and Commissioner Silver will announce the specific plan, although it looks as though 20 teams in the bubble in Orlando, and then full playoffs that'll end sometime like close to November from there. So that's it, man. Do we have anything else?
No, let's crank up day 1 of the KBO.
KBO. Okay. As the host, I get to do the fun part, and then Andrew has to do the hard part. I'm going to give you the matchups, lineups, and talk about the pitching matchups and give you the lines of the game. We want this to be a prep for DFS and also a prep for any, gambling on these games, over-unders, those kind of things make a big difference. Since this is our very first KBO podcast, I'm going to go over the standings super quick, just in case you're new to it and just diving in. We have the NC Dinos 18-6, the LG Twins 16-8. Andrew Hanson's favorite team, I think he's part owner of the Doosan Bears, 15-9.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, man. It's Bears merchandise. By the way, all of our podcast fans, how do you like the new swag, guys? We've never had the swag. That's a new thing lately too. And you can go to the Coach Talk store if you want join in on some of the fun stuff there. All right, Kiwoom 13-12, Kia's 13-12, and then you've got 5 teams that bring it up from behind, below 500. Loti Giants 11-13, Samsung 11-14, the KT Wiz 10-14, SK 8-16. That's the team Andrew likes to pick on the most, and the Hanwha Eagles 7-18. And tonight's matchups all starts 4:30 a.m. my time here in Dallas, 5:30 on the East Coast. We've got the Loti Giants at the Kia Tigers. Pitching for the Loti Giants is Sampson. He's 0-1 with a 5.40. And for the Kia Tigers, it's Yang Hyun Joing. He's 3-2 with a 4.85. For the Doosan Bears, it's Lee Yong Chan. He's 1-2 with a big fat 8.72. So I don't know about your Doosan team today, Andrew. We're going to have to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
They're at the KT Wiz. Soo Hyung Jun, 3-1 with a 7.06 ERA. The SK Wyverns, that's the most interesting nickname. Do you know what a wyvern is?
I think it's some sort of dragon.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't have the answer. I just was just seeing. Hopefully, you did. Um, it's Lee Jeong Wook 1-0 with a crystal 1.04 ERA against sort of my favorite team. I think most people in America, they've been put them on TV the most. The NC Dinos with Choi Sung Young. He's 0-0 with a 2.70. The Samsung Lions with Hyo Yoon Dong, 1-0 with no ERA against a good pitching matchup here against the LG Twins and the American pitcher Casey Kelly. He's 2-0 with a 4.05. And then the last game on the slate, again, all of these start at the same time. That's a good thing with KBO. It's the Kiwoom Heroes and Jo Young Gun at 0-0, no ERA. First start for him against the Hanwon Eagles with Sophold, who's done a decent job for sure. Couple hard losses. He's 2-2 with a 2.65. So the last thing we'll do is we will log in here to get you live BetUS as our partner. We're going to utilize them for all of our statistical lines for betting because we all I clicked on MLB. So see, that's a thing. So we're KBO tonight. Doosan at KT. Doosan is minus 125. And this is something you got to circle, Andrew. 12.5 over under. That's the biggest we've seen this year, correct?
It very well may be. I know it's the biggest on the board tonight, and so we'll have a lot of.
I don't think I will go back and look, but I would put a $5 wager on the fact that that's the biggest of the year. So you owe me $5. All right. The SK Wyverns are $1.60 dog to the NC Dinos. So on BetUS, they're minus 200. Over-unders 10. We have the LG Twins, the biggest favorite on the board, minus 250. If you're going with them, you may want to go on the run line, minus 1.5. They're only minus 120. And that over-under is only 8.5. So I'm seeing possibly a pitcher from that game in our player pool for sure. And then we have
maybe even two, Coach. Maybe even two. Stay tuned.
Hey, it does not hurt to go and hope for a nice pitching duel. That always works out fine. Not always, but most of the time. The Low T Giants at the Kia Tigers. Kia's of minus 145 and only an 8 over under. So there's the other low game where we have to talk pitching a little bit too. And then the last game is Kiwoom versus Hanwha. We have a minus 120 for the road Kiwoom team, 10 over under. So thank you to BetUS for those lines. And that's where we're at, man. Now, this is where the big bucks guy, Mr. Language Olympic, Andrew Hanson, takes the stage and just crushes some stuff here. So I'm going to take a nap. No, I'm just kidding. So what we're going to do is what Andrew and I have done in basketball, and it's always worked really well for us. We're going to go game by game, point out who we think are good plays or fades, which pitchers, to definitely put in the pool. And just for you guys out there, FanDuel is down right now, first time ever. They're doing some moderations to their website. Yeah. So they will not be up tonight until later. So we're not going to have any KBO lineups we're putting out there. But DraftKings is up and going, and their tournaments are looking great, and their cash games. So there we go, man. First game, let's get all over it. Low T at Kia.
All right. Yeah, well, let's get one of our pitchers here, at least one of our pitchers in our pool. And as you alluded to, what we do with our members is we provide them with a player pool on DraftKings, as we can't give out a specific lineup. So we recommend multiple players at each position. And so the Kia pitcher tonight, Yang, he is expensive. He's $9,900, but I think he's a good cash game option. He's one of my 3 favorite pitchers. He gets almost $2 million a year, which is big money in Korea. So he is one of those ace caliber pitchers. Pretty good strikeout guy last year. And here's a fun one from the game logs. Last September, he pitched a 3-hit shutout against Lotte. So he's got a lot of success against this group. So I want to start with him as one of my lead pitchers. In terms of the Lotte bats, a couple guys did have some success earlier in the year last year against Yang. Asap Sion, he's usually a number 2 or number 3 hitter, left-handed outfielder. He's at 3,800 today. He's had success, not as much of a power guy. And then Daeho Lee, the big first baseman, veteran slugger, 4,300. He had a couple good games against Yang, and he's heating up a little bit. So if you were going to get a little bit different in tournaments and you wanted to get a couple Lotte bats, that's where I would start. As far as the Kia bats, this is probably my second favorite team to stack tonight. And you can go anywhere from 2 through 7 in this lineup. And we've seen a lot of the winning lineups on DraftKings have as many as 5 guys from one lineup. So, we're not talking about mini stacks here. We're talking about 4 or 5. And it's a very unique game here in the KBO because there's only 5 games a night at most. There's only 10 teams in the league. So you really have to keep that in mind. You got to do things a little bit differently than in Major League Baseball because of the context. So 2 through 7, you can find the lineups, but Sunbin Kim, the second baseman, he's more of a gamer, get on base, good batting average. He's batting 352, not a power guy. Preston Tucker, though, he's a power guy. He's hitting 3rd tonight. One of the best power hitters in the league, 6 homers, 25 RBI already. And as you mentioned with those team records, we're about 25 games into the season. So, 1 RBI per game on average. Number 4 hitter, Hyung Woo Choi, power hitter. He's available at first base or outfield, which is really nice. First base, if you're new to KBO DFS is a very important position. There's a lot of sluggers there. A couple of them are available first base and outfield eligible. And several of them are only available at first base. So it's one of the toughest decisions to make every night. But Cha is a guy that you can play first base or outfield. I usually play him in the outfield so I can pick up one of the other sluggers at first base. Jiwon Na, probably batting 5th. He's a nice cheaper value at 3,300, but he's got some pop, 4 homers, 17 RBI. Number 6 hitter, I haven't played much, but he's batting 377. And then the number 7 hitter is a catcher, S. Han, for 3,800. He's had 4 homers this year. He's batting 314. And Coach, we've talked about it a lot off air, but we should mention here on our first KBO DFS podcast that the catchers in the KBO often bat between 6 and 8 in the order, but they are some of the guys who have the most power on the team. And so it's a little bit strange. It can get a little bit uncomfortable playing one of these guys in your DFS lineup if they're batting 6th, 7th, 8th every night. But if you want to go for that home run upside, this is a place you often have to go.
I agree. Great points, man. A couple comments I'll make on that game. First of all, just, since this is our first show, up until now, basically, Andrew and I have just been on, the iPhone, and we talk this out for like an hour and a half at least every night, go through basically what we're doing on this show. We're preparing and then talking about it on here, whereas we sort of did it all together before more so. That's why we spent an hour and a half, 2 hours, which we should be able to bring this all to you when we just do the KBO stuff in a 40, 45-minute time frame. So anyway, the points that Andrew made there are very good. Yang is one of my favorite pitchers. He hasn't been stellar so far, but he is a handful of Korean-born players that are expected to make it to the major leagues that are really looked at as potential MLB players. Jung Ho Lee at Kiwoom happens to be my favorite young guy. And there's some other guys sprinkled throughout the league that have Scott Boros as their, their man. He's doing their negotiating, and so I think some of these guys, including Yang, will eventually be in the majors. So I like him. I like that he's a lefty against Loti. I know we've used Siop Son a lot, the number 3 hitter for Loti, but he's a lefty going against Yang, so I think Yang has the heads up there. You'll see a lot of things as we're doing these KBO lineups that I might as well tell you now because it's stuff that Andrew and I favor both ways, and we're always fisticuffs about certain stuff. But for me, it's like I have a golden rule. If I go with a pitcher, I refuse to take a hitter from the other team. And you can call me stubborn or whatever, but it is what it is. I'm a mojo. I like the feel of the thing. I don't want to root for one guy against the other. So Yang is definitely one of my favorite pitchers tonight. So I'm not playing any low T Giants or plan to. And just one thing I wanted to mention. I know Andrew tries to do the same thing as well, but will occasionally, grab a one-off from the other squad. I just think it's bad juju, so I won't do it. The other thing is from the hitting side, yeah, I think Sampson is hittable. We didn't know a whole lot about him initially, but he hasn't shown to be, too strong right out of the gates here. And he's a righty, and some of these lefties can really punish you. I love Tucker and Choi, the 3-4 hitters. Tucker's been, the MVP so far of the league? He or Fernandez have been the 2 best players.
Yeah,
probably
and
Tucker's
Ramos
been the best. Yeah. And so, I love him. I think you can look, as Andrew said, another thing that we always fight about, I don't like to play anybody that bats below 5th. Just one of my weird entities. I know a lot of people out there are saying, you're an idiot because, you can get steals at 6 and 7, low owned, and they could hit a homer. And I get that, but I'll do it when Andrew talks me into it, like this catcher, S. Hahn, that's batting 7th. I could live with that. I think he's decent enough to do that. But for the most part, you'll still see me touting somebody in those top 5 because there's enough value. Generally I can put a lineup together with everybody in the top 5 and get a stud pitcher and a secondary pitcher that's middle of the pack or even cheaper and get away with it. So that's generally the just the mindset that I'll take. So the good thing about it is Andrew and I look at that a little bit differently. So I'm with you there, man. I think Kia, to me, may be the best stack, if not the second best stack. And with only 5 games and the way DraftKings lets you build a good, solid player group that you start, you can easily go 4 or 5 deep in the Kia stack tonight, and then back it up with Yang as the pitcher, in my opinion.
Right on. Should we hit game 2?
The Doosan Andrew Hanson Bears against the KT. I got to take a whiz.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a fun one. You mentioned the high total of 12.5, and Doosan, certainly my favorite team to stack here. They have been all year. That's why we joke about me being a part owner, and I'd be happy to get a Christmas present with some Doosan Bears connection there.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that the core of their lineup, they're all lefties. I was a left-handed hitter, so I've connected with these guys early. And so,
did you have any pop, Andrew? Tell the truth.
In college, I had a lot of pop. In pro ball, I was sort of a tweener, and I didn't hit many home runs after college. So it's a tough transition to the wooden bat. It really is.
Oh, it's a horribly big, tough thing. Yeah. You didn't like juice up or anything, did you?
I didn't. That was probably one of the problems. Yeah. I tried to go.
Giving you a hard time. But you're right. I think it's amazing that they have 5 lefties that are good at the top of their order. That says a lot, man.
Yeah, it does. And so, again, the Doosan is my favorite team to stack tonight. They usually.
Oh, wow. Wait, hold on. Let's call breaking news.
Yeah.
Andrew Hanson to stack Doosan.
Breaking news. Yeah, and last night it was the way to go. It was a surprise because they rocked Despaigne, one of the better pitchers in the league. They had 15 hits against him in 5 innings.
Well, I think he was the highest owned pitcher on the slate.
Yeah. I mean, he had negative 20 fantasy points?
It was really
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. We faded him, by the way. We
Yeah.
faded them.
Yeah. So got to go back to the well with these guys. They're feeling good. They've been feeling good all season. Just a dominant offense. You mentioned 1 through 5 are the lefties to start, and 2 through 5 are certainly my favorite. Fernandez, as you mentioned, leader for the MVP, batting 465. Okay, and we're
That's it.
99. He's had 99 at bats, so this is
Dang.
this is a pretty significant sample size. And don't be
Softball numbers.
yeah, softball numbers. And don't be fooled by the fact that he's batting second. I mean, he gets it done with power, 5 homers and 27 RBI. So he's obviously expensive. He's 6,200, but he's eligible at first base and second base. So here's the thing with Doosan is you're trying to stack these guys 2 through 5. You can't do it because Fernandez is available at first and second base, but then you've got Jai-Il-Oh. He's only available at first base.
He's a stud.
Yep. And then the cleanup hitter, Jae-Hwan Kim, he's available at first base and outfield. And then the 5 hitter, one of my absolute favorites in the league, Jae Chua, he's only 2,300. Okay. He's available at first base and second base. And he has 5 homers and 15 RBI, which if that doesn't sound like a lot, or if it sounds common because we're talking about these guys with 5 homers, it's not common. It's rare.
No.
And to have the guy batting fifth and only be 2,300, he's mispriced. He has been for a while. We've been playing him a lot.
They refuse to adjust him. I was looking back prior to the show, to the lineups we provided because I wanted to see a pattern of who we've played the most. And, it looks like Jung Ho Lee from Kiwoom, who happens to be my favorite. I guess I've affected that. So he's been in there the most. And Jo Hwan Choi, the number 5 hitter for Doosan, because he's been underpriced, has probably been second. Those are the 2 guys we played the most, but it goes to show you, there are guys like this that are hitting for pop. And trust me, if you have more than 3 homers right now, you're smacking the ball because there's not a ton of homers in this league. They de-juiced the ball last year after they were hitting home runs like crazy. And so, it's pretty good baseball. And Choi's done a fantastic job. So I wanted to mention that because I know he's been on a lot of our teams. But some of these guys we've said forever, another guy, we talked about that is Aaron Altier. He was $9 forever on fantasy draft. They just never changed him. And I kept saying this guy's FanDuel, I'm sorry. Yeah. He's going to blow up. He's going to blow up. And he did. He had like 9 hits in 3 days and he was still $9. But yesterday I did see they moved him to 10. So anyway, I bring all of that up to say, you will see some repetitive players that we choose almost every slate because until they adjust the pricing on DraftKings or FanDuel for some of these guys, and it's bizarre because when Altier was $9 all that time on FanDuel, he was one of the more expensive players on DraftKings. So go figure, man. So we're going to take what they give us. You got to take those values where you can get them. And that's why Choi is certainly on my list again today.
Absolutely. And again, if you look at last night, they had 7 of their starters get at least 2 hits. And that's why when we say you can easily stack them from 2 through 5, you can even go down 7 and 8. I mean, they've got, their 7-hitter tonight is a catcher. He hits 306, doesn't have any pop, but he'll get on base. He's cheap. 8-hitter, the third baseman, Kei Hio. He's batting over 300 with 2 homers. So again, for 2,600, it's a really nice value. So here's the general lesson with Doosan is when they're going against a righty who's not very good, like this one. He has his ERA over 7. So anytime you have this situation, you got to stack Doosan multiple ways. You got to get, a couple of these bats in your cash lineups. If you're going to make multiple tournament lineups, play around with it. Get them both in at first and second base. Get Fernandez and Chua in there at first and second. Mix in Jae-Hwan Kim in the outfield. Put at least one lineup in with Jai-Il-Oh as your first baseman. He's been out a little bit, but he's back now. Had a big night last night. So all those guys are core players for us, and they'll be in our player pool.
Exactly. What about the KTW side? KT
yeah, so I like these guys as well. They're not my favorite team overall. I definitely don't like them as much as Doosan, but right in the middle is Mel Rojas Jr., who is an absolute stud. He's
He's
also
tough.
batting over 400, 7 homers, 23 RBI. He's really priced up at 6,100, but he's really reliable. You got to love the fact that he's a switch hitter. And this is the game we're expecting to be the big shootout on the slate. So we're going to get pieces from both sides of it. Now around him, not quite as exciting as with Doosan. These guys have dealt with some injury, but the number 2 hitter, Jay Bay, he's a value. He's in the outfield. He's only 2,400. He's batting up at 379 now, playing with a lot of confidence, playing every day. So he's a guy to consider. Number 3 hitter, similar in that he's the outfield. He's 2,600. Young Ho Jo. He's batting 429 for the season. He's a little lefty, kind of crouches down. He's more of a singles hitter.
Ichiro.
Yeah, kind of a thicker version of Ichiro.
Yeah.
He's not going
Line
to.
drives, though, what I noticed.
Yeah, line drives, try to shoot the gap. He's not going to hit it over the wall. But if you're going to build a stack and do a game stack, then you could go 3-4 here. Get Joe in as your 3 hitter, Rojas as your cleanup, and there's 2 of your outfield spots. And then 5 and 6 are guys you could fill in the lineup with. Jay Huang, coach, we've talked about him, the third baseman, who's a little bit overpriced at 5,100 based on his pedigree. He is heating up a little bit. And then I do like the guy batting 6th, K Park, second baseman, a little more pop so far than Huang. And he's only 3,600 at second base. So if you want to, get off of Cha in one of your lineups from Doosan, you could go with Park at 3,600. And I want to mention one more thing about stacking because, for the other 3 games on this slate, we're not going to talk about as many hitters as we are in this game because we love the lineups tonight against these pitchers. But the other thing was interesting in the KBO is a lot of times when you get a blowout, it's like 10 or 11-2 after 6 innings. They will pull some of their main guys, and you don't get the full 9 innings. So it is even more important to keep a closer game in a shootout, high scoring affair, to try and get as many at bats out of these guys as you can.
I agree, man. That's a great point. They don't run up the score here. One thing I've noticed about this league, and it's really refreshing, is the sportsmanship. It's amazing. If they think they won't steal a base when they're ahead, they don't, they'll pull guys when they're, 10 runs ahead or something. And if a guy hits you, he acknowledges, he basically apologized, tips his hat. And I mean, it's just a lot of really good sportsmanship. It's very fun to watch, but yet they're extremely competitive. So, I mean, it's very nice, but that is a good point. When you have a game like this, and the reason why we're spending so much time on it is because I believe it'll probably fill half of our DraftKings roster tonight, at least, because not only is it 12.5 over under, you got 2 pitchers that we think are not good. You have 2 strong hitting teams, especially Doosan. So, I can easily come out of this with 4 Doosan, 2 or 3 Kiwoom. I'm a little higher on Jay Bay, the center fielder from KTW. He's come through for us a couple of times, and his price is just too darn good to pass up. One thing I did forget as the host to mention at the front, because I love that part, is the weather. And not that it's an issue, but I will start to do that. And you'll see that in our Discord. I follow South Korea with the Weather Channel. I'll put the radar up, and we want to take advantage. One thing we found, Andrew, and you can attest to this, we have a big advantage, and I'll tell you why. Because most people either can't stay up or don't wake up or sleep through it and aren't getting up for lock time. A lot of a time, like here in Dallas, my alarm right now is set for 3:50 a.m. And at 4 o'clock, I'll go in Discord. I'll be in there till 4:30 Dallas time. And not only will we see all the weather, I'll post the radar, we'll confirm all the lineups. One thing I've noticed, 30 minutes before lock, every single team always has their lineups in. They're not like NBA where we're pulling our hair out, and I don't have any hair to pull out. So, that we're being able to do. So there's an advantage because, if somebody takes a 0, that's massive. So, big advantage, big shout out to DFS Coach Talk because I think that's a big advantage we have that you're not going to get. I don't think anywhere else in the industry. Have you seen any other providers or anybody else that's doing these live until lock kind of things that we're doing? I don't think there's one.
I don't know. It's possible. I mean, I do focus more on DFS Coach Talk. I look inward more than I look outward, but I know that we're doing it.
It's awesome, man. So anyway, the weather's great everywhere. There's no huge winds to say that are going to be blowing in or blowing out. You know, the biggest wind of the day is in this game. It's 9 miles an hour left to right. So there's nothing weather-wise that'll affect anything. But this is the key game. This is the stackable game. And as Andrew astutely put, you've got two pitchers that aren't that good. So both teams should score multiple runs, which will keep it close enough to keep all the key players in the game. All right, dude, let's go. SK Wyverns, my favorite nickname of all sports. The Wyverns versus my NC Dinos. And I know Andrew knows the answer to this, so I'm not even going to ask him. Our third most stacked guy that we've used all year long, because I can't get away from, is UEG Yang, the catcher from the Dinos. He is possibly the best player, if not the second best player on the Dinos. He bats cleanup every night. And as Andrew said, I'm looking across the presumptive lineups here, and you've got 8th, 7th, 8th, 8th, 7th, 8th, 8th, 5th, and 8th. So you're talking, you know, we generally will go to UEG Yang as a 4-hitter, or D Park from Kiwoom, who's batting 5th, and he has a bunch of pop, because really those are the only two catchers that are going to get that extra at bat and are batting high enough in the order. Now, again, that's my thinking. Andrew sometimes will steer clear of that, and I get it with the S. Hans batting 7th that do have some pop. But I just wanted to, you know, before I turned it over, I wanted to give a shout out to probably, would you say our 1-2 best punch has been Sung Bum Na and UEG Yang, the 3-4 hitters for NZ Dinos?
Yeah, right up there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, Yang's been your favorite right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And
I saw an interview with him, and it just stuck in my mind. He just seemed like a leader and just a bulldog, the kind of catcher that ends up becoming a manager kind of guy and just knows how to take advantage of every situation. So, all right, what do we got this game, brother?
So we love the Dinos lineup in general. Excellent, 1 through 8, even 1 through 9. Guys littered up and down the lineup that are hitting over 300. That's why they're 18-6. A little bit tougher to stack tonight. The pitcher they're facing an ERA just over 1, and he had 2 relief appearances, and then his first start was against Doosan, and he held them to 1 run in 5 1/3. So not a huge sample size, but the pitching matchup is just so much better in that game before with Doosan and KT Wiz. I'm going to stack that one more. This one would be a secondary option to get a bunch of guys from the Dinos. If you're playing multiple tournament lineups, I would advise stacking them at least once. And you mentioned Sung Bum Na, the number 3 hitter. I would start with him. He's been a little bit cold lately, but 7 homers, 18 RBI. He's been on a mission. You mentioned Scott Boras as his agent.
That's his agent.
So he's been terrific this year. Yang right behind him. He is in my player pool for catchers. He's starting to heat up a little bit. And we could talk about all these guys because we like them. We've played them. I just want to mention Jay Kang in the 6 hole. He has been listed as a catcher on DraftKings all season. Coach and I realized yesterday that they just switched it. They made him first base and outfield eligible. So it's very important because this is a guy who, it's hard to decide between Kang, Yang, and then Kiwoom's catcher, Dongwon Park that you mentioned, because this is a real slugger. This guy's batting .450 with 5 homers, 19 RBI, and he's only 3,800. So he's a terrific value. He's not a must play for me tonight because it's a potentially tougher matchup. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. Make a note that he has switched now in terms of position eligibility to first base and outfield. So, I won't belabor it anymore, but Minwoo Park at the top is always a good option. We like Jin Hyuk No. He's batting seventh. He's a middle infielder who's only 3,400, who actually has some pop. He's got 3 homers. So he's a guy that's usually in our player pool. Over on the SK side tonight, um, I rarely play SK batters. It's just a weak lineup, 8 and 16 overall. Tonight, their three-hitter Jung Choi is somebody I will consider. He's third base, shortstop eligible, so he's the kind of guy, if he fills out your lineup, then I'll stick him in there.
Sounds like your daughter's a big Choi fan.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's excited for day one of the KBO here.
Yeah,
That's
Choi.
right. So the funny thing with Choi is he's one of those guys who's high priced because of his historical performance. He's been a little bit slow this year, but now he's
every day though.
Yeah, expensive,
Yeah.
but over 200 now. He's heating up. He has 18 walks, so his on base percentage is almost 400.
Yeah.
So he's a one-off that I would consider. I don't think I'll go with Romack, their cleanup guy, at 5,400.
He's been a mess.
Yeah, I like the other high-priced bats here more than him tonight. And then I just want to mention the Dinos pitcher. He only had 60 pitches in his first outing. So you can't really trust him to go deep. And so I'm not going to use him, and going to steer away from this game probably more than I normally would with the Dinos going against a bad team, SK. But again, their pitcher is solid so far, so I won't be playing this one as much.
Yeah, and I'll just add a couple pieces to basically exactly what you said. I mean, generally the pitcher that's going against SK has a darn good chance to make our player pool, just because, in my opinion anyway, SK has the worst lineup in the league. They just don't hit. They're not good up and down that lineup. The only guy worth anything is Jeong Choi, and he's always overpriced. So again, they become a target, but we talked about it before. We don't want to take a risk of playing a pitcher that may pitch 55, 60 pitches, 4 innings, whatever, is not going to get it done. So they're always pretty close to a fade. We very seldom really roster anybody from them so far, but they may be a one-off kind of team. I do want to give another shot to the Dinos up and down their lineup though, man. They are consistently tough. Like their shortstop, Jin Hyuk No, that's batting seventh, he'd bat 3 or 4 for SK. And Aaron Altier, the ex-Philly center fielder, he's batting 8th, and he's been hot lately. So, up and down, you don't get any free outs. There's no free squares with this team. So, it makes it a very playable team, especially when they're going against a lousy team like SK. But the best pitcher on SK is definitely Jeon Wook Lee. 2-0 with a 1.10, and that's enough to scare me away, at least for right now. But, don't be afraid ever, really, unless it's a really bad pitching matchup, to mini stack or even go a 2-3 and then a 4-5-6 or a 1-2 and a 4-5, whatever the case may be. We've had some good success doing that with the Dinos. So, all right, game 4 on the board. Samsung Lions against the LG Twins. And here's an interesting guy that I can't wait to hear Andrew's take on, because we've talked a lot about Casey Kelly. He went over, he had to be quarantined, there was a delay, and he wasn't in his pitching routine. We faded him initially. Then he looked like he was putting it together. He's somehow found a way to be 4-0, but his ERA is still over 4. And I'm not 100% sold, but I know that Andrew is a Casey Kelly guy. So I'm interested to see your take on this game. And is Yoon Dong Hyo at 2-0 with no ERA a lock and load for you?
Well, I wouldn't call him a lock and load, but he is in my player pool. He's one of my top 3 pitchers. But Casey Kelly, the guy you mentioned first for the LG Twins, he is my favorite pitcher tonight.
I knew it.
Yep. 8,800. And I was watching that first game against the Dinos, and he got hit around, but it was, bloop single here,
Dings,
through
yeah.
the hole over there, and it was, good pitches on the black of the plate, and guys were just fighting it off. And you mentioned that with the quarantine, his pitch count was down, so it was a bad start, but he came back with two good starts out of the last three, and he was terrific against Hanwha last time out with 10 Ks. So all of a sudden now you add up his numbers, he's got 20 Ks in 20 innings, hasn't allowed a homer yet, going against Samsung, not a strong hitting team. Their best hitters, most of their quality hitters are righties. And so, you got to like that with Casey Kelly being a righty. So, put that all together. He's my favorite player, favorite pitcher on the board. The line backs it up that you mentioned with the over under at 8.5. And because of that, and for a few other reasons, Hio, the pitcher on the other side, he is in the player pool, and I will build some lineups with both pitchers from this game and hope for that pitcher's duel. We saw it last night in this matchup. Samsung won 2-0. And so hopefully with those lineups, we can get those guys and those teams thinking, well, my guy did it yesterday. I'm going to go out and do it again today. Offenses are a little bit cold. So hoping for another low scoring game here. In terms of the bats, if you were going to play somebody from Samsung, it would probably have to be Saladino. He's now moved back up in the order. He's batting third. At least that's the projected lineup right now. High-priced guy who was really slow at the beginning of the season, but he's coming on. He's had 4 straight games with at least 2 hits. So I do feel confident playing him these days. I'll mention the 6-hitter D. Kim. He's got some pop, really big, broad, strong guy. Only 2,900 for a guy that has had 5 homers. Just a guy to keep in mind. Again, I won't play him tonight against Kelly, but those are my favorite 2 guys over there. Over on the LG side, we've played these guys at the top, really the number 2 hitter and the 4 hitter a lot. Hyun-Soo Kim, left-handed hitting outfielder, expensive. And Ramos, the cleanup hitter. This guy mashes. He's a monster. Young guy. He's going to be in the big leagues eventually. He's already got 10 homers. Just a massive, strong guy. A great hitter. So they're facing the lefty from Samsung. So because it's lefty-lefty, I'm going to shy away from these guys. I mean, Ramos has hit homers off lefties here. He's that good. He's not one of these guys who's going to be scared of facing a lefty. But, for the reasons we already talked about with Doosan and KT being in those great spots, I'm going to shy away from these LG bats that we do like and focus on the pitchers in this game.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. I think these 2 pitchers have to be in your top 3. I really do. I think they're 2 of the best 3 pitchers on the slate. I have Hio over Kelly, but I still like Kelly.
You want to save some money, huh?
Yeah, I just, I like the lefty. I like the fact that, some of the key hitters for LG are lefty. Now, I will say one of the TV games about 2 weeks ago that we were talking, Ramos hit a tape measure shot off a lefty. I mean, you couldn't even see where the dang thing landed.
Right.
He's an amazing story, man. He's from Mexico. He's only 25 years old. He was in the Rockies system. He played all the way up to AAA last year. And then guess what? They cut him. Gone. So no idea why, but this guy has true pop and a decent eye at the plate. He's not like a Joey Gallo free swinger home run every out. I mean, he stings the ball. So I have a lot of respect for him, but I'm going to shy from him tonight. He's always fairly highly owned and he's expensive. But I agree with you. I think, my theory is if you're on the pitcher, you're not on the hitter. And I do like both of these pitchers. And, I have no problem. I know a lot of people think that's a huge mistake, but with the way the scoring system is, I don't think it's that bad of an idea. If you see a pitcher's duel and you like both guys, how many games do you see with 2 good pitchers where it's 1-0 after 8? I mean, I'll take that all day long with, half a dozen strikeouts each. That'll get you home a lot of times. So, I won't belabor the point. There's nobody that I think is too good not to pass on. I will say I've been in Saladino's corner since game 1. I saw him get robbed of some hits. He got dinged up a little bit. He was hurt a little bit. And I kept playing him, but they dropped him to fifth, then sixth, then eighth. And I think once he got to eighth, he said, all right, I'm ready. And he, like you said, he's had, I believe, 14 hits over the last 4, 5 games, something ridiculous. And he's back up into the 3 hole. But again, he's a righty against Casey Kelly, a righty. Kelly, was he at Diamondbacks? Is that right? Or Reds? Diamondbacks and Reds, maybe? I believe he was
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I would assume maybe Kelly and Saladino know a little bit about each other. So that's
Mhm.
another. Usually, I give that edge to the pitcher, to
Mhm.
try to stay away from, what the hitter likes. With I think that gives an advantage to the pitching side. So I think both of these pitchers need to be highly considered. If you only go with one of them and you're going to play a one-off or two-man stack or something on LG, I would go ahead and spend the money for Ramos, and the two-hitter Hyunsu Kim. I think those are their two best consistent hitters. And then on the Samsung side, again, Saladino's been super hot. He'd probably be the spot that I went. And Song Soo Kim's not a bad leadoff guy. It's just isn't a good matchup for him, but somebody to look to maybe in another game. All right, game 5, dude. Kiwoom Heroes, Hanwha Eagles. What do we say, man?
Well, we have got Warwick Sopold here, who has been very
So
consistent,
cold.
like you mentioned, and he started out the season with a gem, a shutout, 2-hit shutout.
We
So
had him.
we
That was
did,
my number one pitcher that night. I'm
yeah,
a big fan ever since, although he hasn't been as sharp, but he's still good.
yeah, that was a fun night. He hasn't struck out guys a lot, only 17 in 34 innings. He's only given up one homer though, and he's had all quality starts, so he's a real battler. But he's going up against Kiwoom, and that's an offense that we really like. And they've got some just terrific bats 1 through 5. So I'm going to shy away from Sopold and go with the pitchers we've already talked about, and hope that he doesn't have a terrific outing. I don't think he'll shut Kiwoom down. But he did, when they faced off earlier, he did hold them to 2 earned runs over 6 innings, and he was decent against them last year. The guy that's had the most success for Kiwoom against Southhold is your boy Young Hoo Lee in the 3 hole, just a terrific left-handed hitter. So he's in my player pool. He's my favorite player in this game at 5,000. He went 2 for 3 against him last year and 1 for 3 this year. Um, Terrific numbers across the board. In terms of the other guys there at the top, nobody has had success against Sopold. I don't think Park has faced him out of the 5 hole, so he would also be in my player pool for the catchers. 342 with 6 homers, 22 RBI, only 4,200. Terrific value for a catcher. We've been playing him for the last couple weeks.
It's got some pop.
And then I got to mention these 6 and 7 hole hitters because they're cheap and they've had a lot of recent success. W. Kim is in the 6 hole, 5 for 15 on the year, but he just had a huge game. And he's only 2,000. And then Hai Sung Kim in the 7 hole. He's been bouncing up between 7 and 1 because Co's been hurt. And now he's batting over 300.
See,
And
these are the kind of guys when we're talking every night. This is usually when I take a drink of my soda and run to the restroom and let you just talk through these 6, 7, 8 bums that I
right,
play.
right. So, but listen to this. He's had 10 hits in his last 3 games, which is pretty good for a guy that only costs $2,000.
That is
So
wonderful.
just keep an eye on him on where he is in the order.
It's a good point.
And so if you want to make a stack to be different with Kiwoom, throw him in there because he'll allow you to get another big bat. But it's one more reason to stick with us. Make sure that you're checking right before lineup block where he is in the order, because that's a real value if he's at the top of the order. Now, on the flip side here, the pitcher for Kiwoom, surprisingly, doesn't have much experience. Only 1 inning this year. It was scoreless. And last year, he only had 1 appearance. Okay, listen to what happened in his appearance last year. He was facing the Dinos. Okay, first inning it goes single, 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 walk, walk, strikeout, walk, and they yanked him. So very little experience here.
Wow.
You might think, well, let's get some of these Hanwha bats against this guy with no experience who's terrible. But the problem is the Hanwha bats are terrible. And I want to mention the core of this lineup here because, Coach, you mentioned it earlier. This is the other team that we really like to use pitchers against because they just don't have any pop, along with SK. But let's compare these 2 through 5 hitters with Doosan. So Doosan's 2 through 5 hitters, in terms of home runs, have 5, 3, 5, and 5. Hanwha's 2 through 5 hitters, in terms of home runs, have 1, 0, 2, and 2. And, that only one of them's hitting 300. It's just a very weak lineup, another lineup, dealing with injuries. I'm just trying to take one more glance here. I don't think I was planning to keep anybody in the player pool. I mean, you could go with your boy Hoying, the cleanup
No, he's
hitter.
not my boy. And I played him a few times, and he's not good. I mean, SK and Hanwha have the 2 worst records in the league. It's not by accident. It's because neither one of these teams can hit.
Yep.
I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah. So I don't think I'll have any of these guys in my player pool. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if somebody has a decent game against a poor pitcher and then they get into the bullpen. But I think we have plenty of bats from the other teams that'll fill out our lineup.
You know what's pretty funny though? Their first 6 guys against Kiwoom tonight are lefties.
Right.
Against this poor young Jun Joe dude. So, it could be a smart stack. It could be a sneaky smart stack because if Joe, doesn't get it done, although he's got the last name Joe. I mean, that's a cool name. I don't know. But I don't know. I wouldn't trust him. I think Saupold will be fairly well owned. I just don't think the spot is all that great for him. I'm going to steer clear more. So I do want to mention, Jiang Ho Lee. He's my favorite player in the league. I guarantee you, and I want to replay this. It's June 2nd, 2020. I think this is the kind of guy that's going to make it to the majors and make an all-star game.
Ooh.
So he's 21 years old. His dad was a former MVP of the Korean baseball organization. And his swing is similar to Ken Griffey Jr., in my opinion. One of the sweetest left-handed swings I've ever seen. So I want to just put that out there, and it'll be fun, 3-4 years down the line of being able to pull this out here and see if that comes true. But the kid's got a ton of talent. I think he's going to be an all-star in the Korean League this year, maybe play one more year there at most, and then I think he's going right straight to the majors. And I think he's got a bright future. He's just a pure hitter. He can, if you pitch him away, he'll take it away. If you bring it inside on him, he'll yank it out of the park. We talked about him the first 3 or 4 games. He hit a lot of line drives, and I remember a comment you made is, I don't know if he's quite got enough pop yet. He's just not thick enough because he is still very skinny. He's only 21. He's a kid. And that next game, he hit a tape measure. He hit one in right center field that's still going. So this guy's going to be a player. So anyway, I want to give that shout out and get that on record so we can look back at that sometime. Byung-Ho Park's a big power hitter too. We've done a lot of Lee Park 3-4 stacks as well. Definitely one of the higher owned. And you can never go wrong there. I mean, you're going to pay the price for them. And Saupold's pretty solid. So not really maybe the best investment, certainly a good one-off with either guy. And on Hanwha's side, I'll tell you, Hoying I watched him. He just looks like he's missing the ball by 2 feet. I mean, it's just, I don't know why he's still batting cleanup. I think it's going to be a long year for them. And I think SK and them will be neck and neck for last in the league. So, it's a pretty easy slate, really. Load up on the pitchers in Samsung LG, load up on the hitters in Doosan KT, and then just fill a couple of one-offs in. All right, we could have probably done the show like that in 20 seconds.
That's right. Well, it was our first one. We wanted people to get a sense of, how we put a lineup together in baseball. And again, in terms of taking the next step, building a lineup, if you become a member, what we do is we provide a player pool each night, well ahead of lock, for DraftKings that you can pull from to build your lineup. We give out specific full lineups on FanDuel. There is no FanDuel tonight, but if you want to jump in, you can come in tonight, pick up a membership, get in our Discord, and we will share this player pool with you tonight. And we'll be back at it again. We do it every night that there's KBO.
Every night. A couple things I want to mention. Again, thank you for, I know it's a longer show tonight. We spent 25 minutes, just wanted to sort of clear the air and then make some big announcements. And so we had a lot of stuff. We will definitely make this a lot more concise going forward. But a couple things that have slipped by that, now that I'm back doing a lot of the podcasts again, we still support the charity mambaon3.org. That's really our charity of choice here at DFS Coach Talk. That's MAMBAONTHREE.org. Wonderful foundation set up by Vanessa Bryant. So support them in this time of all this craziness going on. And we're ecstatic that we have these new partners and sponsors. So we want to thank TVG and we want to thank Bet US for jumping aboard with us. And we're just excited. We're excited about the future. We're excited about KBO and PGA and then getting into the real stuff, man. But it's a pleasure working with you, Andrew. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better partner in crime here. I mean, we spend a lot of time and we take every lineup and every player that we put out there seriously. And, I really appreciate you for doing that. And really, that's really the main thing. Just remember, we're the only guys out there 30 minutes before lock getting it done. So DFSCoachTalk.com, jump aboard, take advantage of some of these wonderful offers from TVG and Bet US and jump aboard with us and let's build a big stack. We've talked about it before. Our goal with KBO and PGA is to build a nice little bankroll so that when all the big sports come in, we can load up and go after it. So that's what we're trying to do each day. Bankroll management's important. Don't overplay. Stay within your rules and guidelines. We do have some podcasts if you want to look at some of the evergreen podcasts on bankroll management that are very, very strong, that will give you a good idea, if you want to win long term in DFS. So I think that's about it, man. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, just echo what you said. It was a pleasure to be on with you. I love breaking it down. We've had a lot of fun with the KBO offline, and it's really exciting to be here providing these actual podcasts day of. And so we hope that you all can benefit from this insight and build some winning lineups tonight.
No doubt. Look at us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. He's at Language Olympic. I'm at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. And that is it, man. I think we're going to get out of here. So I'll try to not screw it up this time. For myself, Joe Sarvadi, affectionately known as Coach, and my man Andrew Hanson, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. And we will be back again tomorrow when we look to crush it in DFS.